Hey everyone, I'm your host, Quinn Magnuson. Welcome to the EOR podcast, the show for leaders, high performers, and the secrets to grit, growth, and greatness. I want to ask you something. Are you an organization looking to build a rock-solid strategy that will grow your people and end up in increased productivity and profitability? Then I invite you to start by going over to our website, effortoverresults.com, and book your free strategy call directly with me. No obligation, no bots or sticky email campaigns, just a friendly one-to-one call so I can learn more about you and your team goals. So if you're ready to get real, go over to effortoverresults.com, book your free call today. And now, let's get back to the show. Terry Fossum, welcome to the show. You grew up in Texas, specifically McAllen, Texas. And McAllen is known for being a bit gritty, a bit dirty, and a lot of poverty, abuse. I mean, that really is the origin of your story. Do you remember the moment that you first decided that you weren't going to let your circumstances growing up in McAllen define you? And then we're going to get into the journey of where you are today. But let's start in McAllen.
Yeah, you bet. And first of all, I want to say, Quinn, thanks for doing what you do here. You're serving a lot of people. You're really helping them out, and I appreciate what you're doing here. It's very cool, man.
Thank you, sir.
And also about McAllen, I want everybody to understand, I love my hometown.
Yes, sir.
We'll talk about it, but I love my hometown. Amazing people there. Fantastic food.
I bet.
And yeah, it's amazing. But it could be a little rough growing up there sometimes with the gangs and the drugs. I mean, it is the poorest city in the entire United States of America. Wow. Yeah, small Texas-Mexico border town. In fact, they were just in the news the other day, Reynosa, which is right across the border. There was this music group that they found them all dead. But that's kind of the way it is down there. And I was on the wrong end of an assault rifle in junior high in my own back alley. Interrupted the wrong guy at the wrong time doing the wrong thing. Father was killed when I was in high school. And before he died, one of the neighbors came up to him and said, I just want to make sure you understand something. Those 3 boys of yours, not a single one of them will ever grow up to be anything. So yeah, that's my background. That's where I come from.
That doesn't match your personality, Terry. Like I'm so glad that I'm speaking to you today, because that story, I would expect a different outcome. And that's what we're going to explore today. So keep going.
Well, you bet. And I'm going to give a plug for Scouting America, because, I've got 2 brothers also. So they were a part of that. You're never going to grow up to be anything. And, but it was Scouting, I think, that brought us out of that, gave us something really positive to look forward to, and built us up in so many ways, along with some outstanding teachers. Let's give credit to the teachers out there in a huge way that believe in us, and it's Scouting the leaders that believe in us when sometimes we don't believe in ourselves. Right. And I think that's a critical point to bring out to everybody. We all need that person. Be that person. Be that person for somebody, because it can make a difference when they don't believe in themselves, but you believe in them enough to make up for it. And I think that makes a huge difference right there.
Yeah, that's such a great growth mindset. And we talk about that on the show a lot. Our audience loves growth mindset. It's about knowing that regardless of your circumstances or where you grew up, or whether you grew up in poverty or you were rich, you still have the opportunity, because you have to decide for yourself. And a fixed mindset would say, you know what, I'm from McAllen, Texas, the poorest town in all the United States. There's a lot of stuff going on here that's a little unsavory. I'll probably just end up either dying on the street somewhere, or I'll end up just being a ditch digger. And you could have that mentality, that fixed mindset of you are where you came from. And that's not true. The growth mindset says, I'm going to do something different with my life. And so tell me, Terry, when did that happen? So, and I going back to, your father's death and that horrible thing that the neighbor said to you, but what reaction did you have to that? And then at what point did you say, no, this isn't me, this isn't going to be me. I'm not going to let that come true?
I think one of the points I talk about it in my TEDx talk actually is when I got into business. Now I'd already had a successful military career. I didn't go towards retirement, but very, very successful. But then I got into business as an entrepreneur. That's a whole different ball game, And I think it was at the point, and again I talk about this on my TED talk, but where I failed and failed and failed and failed and failed, and finally got to the point where I just couldn't fail anymore.
Yeah.
And I gave up. And I said, I guess that guy's right.
When was that, Terry? How old were you?
I would have been in my probably mid to latter 20s at that point.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so the incident happened, the neighbor says what he says, you're like, no, I'm not gonna let this happen. And you kind of you push forward, growth mindset, and you're like, I'm not gonna let this happen. But then, like you said, failure after failure after failure. And I'm liking to think that you learned from that, but at the same time, there was a point where, yeah, you were at that rock bottom, that give up moment. Something
Well,
must have happened. Yeah.
here's the beautiful thing that came out of that, and where this whole Oxcart technique, and that's again the title of my book that hit #1 best-selling book on Wall Street Journal, et cetera. My subject of that TED talk is, okay, so I got to this point where I just couldn't go on. And I walked into the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror. I said, I guess she's right. You're never going to grow up to be anything. But Quinn, at that point, bam, something clicked right there. And I said, no, if for the sake of the memory of my dad, if nothing else, I will not let that happen. And
Amen.
right there, I didn't realize what happened at the time, but that's where this Oxcart technique kicked in. And what I found out now later on through a lot of research and practical application, I was actually doing an application of something called prospect theory. Now, prospect theory, Kahneman and Tversky ended up getting the Nobel Prize in economics when they applied this. It taught us we'll do more to, and this is critical, everybody, we'll do more to avoid pain than to go toward pleasure. We'll do more to avoid pain than to go toward pleasure. And this gets us into the goal setting aspect of it. Why do 92% of the people fail at reaching their goal? Because all we do is this positive visualization, sunshine and bunnies and unicorns and all of that stuff, which is critical, but in and of itself, not enough, or more people would reach their goals.
Right.
If it's true that we'll do more to avoid pain than to go toward pleasure, what I built out was something that involved both the carrot and the stick. What happens if I don't reach my goal? What does that look like? And what we found is that is more powerful, because getting out of our comfort zone is painful, right?
Yep.
It's painful. Therefore, if we will do more to avoid pain than to go toward pleasure, positive visualization alone is not enough to get us out of our comfort zone. We need something more painful to kick us out of that.
Sorry, Terry, to interrupt. I mean, you've probably heard this. It's change happens when the pain of staying the same is far greater than the pain of changing, right? And
100%.
that's what this speaks to. And I'm loving what you're saying already, because this is exactly what effort over results speaks to. We can't control the results. You can set all the goals you want and all the end results you want, but you can't control those. All you can control is your input and the work you put into it. And you may end up in a completely different, destination.
Yeah.
But it might be better than what you would set out in the first place, but you still need to head towards it and then just kind of set it and forget it. So keep going on. Sorry.
No, you're 1,000% correct. I want to go that direction. It really is, in my opinion, but I got the microphone right now, right? It's about working your butt off.
Yes,
Get
sir.
out there and fail. Because every single person who has ever achieved anything has failed all along the way. Too many times we start failing. We go, oh my God, oh, this is too hard. I'm not supposed to do this. God doesn't want me to do it. It doesn't work. I can't do it. No, if you are failing from now on, I want you to go, yes, I'm on the path to success.
It means you're trying.
Failing, you're trying. If you're not failing, you're not on any path at all.
There you go.
Let's face it. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
there was sorry to interrupt. I'm excited right now.
Right on. I love it. Bring it.
Sir. I saw it was like, we call it a statistic or otherwise, but it was, Pablo Picasso only had 200 or 300 pieces that became famous. He did over 150,000 pieces of art, works of art, and only a few hundred became famous. If that isn't an example of failing until you finally hit it, Like, and there's so many examples of that. There's so many people who have been cut from teams, who have been fired from companies, who have been, whatever, kicked out of relationships, and then they found something even better. And like you said, you just need to keep failing forward, because if you're not failing, that means you're not trying.
Absolutely. Ready, fire, aim.
Yes, sir.
Too often we want to aim, and we never get to firing. No, ready, not ready, aim, fire, ready, fire, aim. Just go out there and screw up some.
Go.
At least you got forward motion. Maybe backward motion a little bit, but that's still forward motion, actually, because you're doing
still
something.
moving. Yep, you're still moving. Yeah. That's wow, man. This is exactly. I'm so glad I've got you on the show, because this is exactly what we speak to here, and what our audience needs to hear is they need to hear that failure is not the end. It's really a new beginning, because you learn from it. And if you're failing, like we said, it's because you're trying. The worst thing we can do is become static and do nothing. And that's where everybody tends to fall, because we've gotten into almost like a societal situation where we're trying to find as much comfort as possible. Like the Industrial Revolution has transformed it. How can we be as comfortable as possible and do as little as possible, and have machines do work for us, and phones do work for us, and everything do work for us? But we weren't built for that. Our bodies and our brains were built for challenge and for struggle and for trying and failing. And this is where people truly grow, and where that growth mindset comes from. So once again, we're both on the same page. So let me ask you this next question here. Give me a defining moment where the odds, and you can go back to McAllen if you want, or maybe there's a different time, but when the odds were fully stacked against you, and literally just that try and fail, that effort alone just carried you through it.
So I become finally, because of this Oxcart technique, very, very successful in business. Very blessed, extremely blessed. And then I married into 3 teenage and preteen boys. And so I retired. I called up my business partner and said, guess what? I'm out. And they're like, wait, we're making a lot of money here. Yeah, I can always make money. I got one chance to turn these little boys into honorable men, and I'm not going to screw that up. So I spent the next bunch of years being fast forward. They turned 18. I was their scoutmaster. 2 out of 3 became Eagle Scouts. And they're now moving on and doing other things. I'm praying to God, okay, God, what do you want me to do next? Whatever it is, I'll do it. You lead, I'll follow. Be careful what you ask for, Quinn. Yeah. Because I get this email out of the flippin' blue to be on a survival reality show. Out of the blue. Now, Quinn, if you get an email like that out of the blue, this is Metal Flowers Media Casting Company. We're casting a brand new television reality show, pitting 10 of the top survival experts in the country against each other while dragging along a complete novice, somebody who's never even camped out in the backyard before. We think you'd be great. What's your reaction to that? It's spam, right? It's fake. It's gotta be. I'm waiting for it and send $6,000 to Nigeria, right? Turned out to be true. So I find out, but I told my wife, I don't want to do this, but I'm going, okay, God, whatever it is you want me to do, I'll do it. Okay. I got no choice. Yeah. I found out, Quinn, first of all, I'm going to be the oldest contestant on the entire flipping show, the oldest contestant. And my opponents, my competition, are special forces guys, a Marine Scout sniper, a guy who helped take out Saddam Hussein, a 4th degree ninja black belt I've seen on Naked and Afraid, all stars, except for the fuzzy parts. Yeah. Survival, military survival instructors, and me, the fat old scoutmaster. So if you want odds stacked against you, you just got them. Yep. But you know what? I'm older. I'm probably weaker.
Wiser.
I don't have all of the background these people do, but I can work my butt off. Yeah. So right away, I found, okay, we found out it's going to be in a jungle somewhere in the world. They wouldn't tell us where, but it's going to be in a jungle environment. Okay. I found somebody to take me into the Amazon jungle. I flew into the flippin' Amazon jungle and did survival there for several days, pulled over 100 ticks off of me while I'm in there. I found
as a practice round, basically.
Ain't nobody gonna outwork me. Yeah, absolutely. I flew into Park City to work with the fire making expert on bow and drill. I flew into Houston, Texas, the dude that lived in the jungles of the Hawaiian Islands for a I went to a gym, my local gym. I found a personal trainer. I said, okay, you got a few short weeks to whip me into shape. Can you do it? Yeah. And he basically looks me up and down and goes, can you? So I just worked my butt. So that is a point right there where just hard work and perseverance. And the crazy part is my partner and I, the novice and I, ended up winning the entire show.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, there's a point for you right there.
What do you think? I mean, obviously you prepped yourself for the show, and by the way, my wife and I love shows like Survivor and well, Alone up here in Canada.
Love it.
You
Yeah,
know,
love it.
Alone's an incredible show, and I love that because you truly are. You have no film crews, you have nothing. You film yourself,
Yeah.
and you're alone for. There was one season where they had to last 100 days in northern in our province, northern Saskatchewan, and around Reindeer Lake. And it was just, I love watching the resilience of people, but I also love seeing those people who go on the show with that almost bravado and confidence. Like, I've been everywhere. I've been in the Amazon jungle. It's like, yeah, well, you haven't been in northern Saskatchewan in the middle of winter, right? And they end up like day 3, they tap out because they can't handle it, right? So tell us, let's talk about the show a little bit. Like, talk about that journey and guiding, because it wasn't just you. It's one thing to take care of yourself when you already have all
Right.
that experience. It's now you're trying to guide a novice who has no experience, even just working with somebody. And you know, you talk about workplace where we're trying to lead people, or coaches of a sports teams, or teachers in a classroom. You're trying to grow those people. Talk to me about the partner on the show. You don't have to name names, but talk to me about the partner on the show and what you brought to that relationship that really worked for the two of you.
Yeah, you bet. Well, first of all, the name of the show is Kicking and Screaming. It's on Prime Video right now. They're still playing
Nice.
it on Prime Video. So everybody can take a look and see me at my best and see me at my worst. So
You
here's
aren't
the
naked
deal.
though, right? They didn't have you naked, right?
Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that. I have a mirror. It's not pretty. So first of all, again, I'm the Scoutmaster, right? I'm the scout. That's who I am. I'm in my Scoutmaster uniform and still got lots of survival stores on my body, as we call it. Back home, we call it fat, but it's survival stores out there, man. And my partner was a pink and blue hair, fully tattooed up, tongue ring, atheist, admitted sex addict, online video gamer.
Wow. Could they have not have
Now,
paired you with someone the absolute opposite to you?
and that was why they did it, right?
Yeah. Oh, sure.
That's why they did it. Because you're right, survival is actually easy, and I am one of those people that goes out by my. I did a trek up in way up in the Arctic Circle up north of there by myself, little solo trek, and I've done different things around the world. Survival's easy. That's not that hard. It's fun, but the whole deal is, yeah, now you're working with a novice. But let's be fair here. First of all, scouting, back to that, teaches us to look for the good in people.
Right.
Because we take kids from all different backgrounds, race, color, creed, religion, socioeconomic. We don't care. The worst kids are my favorite kids because we find the good in them. And that was my job with my partner. But let's be fair here. First of all, well, let me finish that. She's strong. She's a video gamer. She's strategic, you know, so she had a lot of great qualities to her. And let's also be fair. The way they do the show, the novices are coming up on they're all in one boat coming up, and you got all of us studly survivalists standing there trying to look as cool as we can. Okay, and the fat old Scoutmaster. And you know, when she's coming around, she's going, please don't give me the fat old Scoutmaster. Please don't give me, please don't. You know she was. She's seeing all these studs and me. And then so she gets stuck with me. But it is all about working together. My job, again, was to find the good in her. And then, and here's an important thing for the listeners. Whenever you see them doing even a little inkling of behavior you want them to do more of, you got to jump on that.
Yes, sir.
Whenever she be doing anything, any work around camp, man, you are such a good worker. You are such a hard worker. You know, I think you're the hardest worker out of everybody here. I think you're, and boy, go ahead.
Let me stop you there for a sec, Terry, because this is once again, I'm drawing this back to what we preach here, and what we're trying to tell people is don't reward and praise and compliment people for the final result only. Praise them for the work they put into it. We as human beings would rather be recognized for the effort we put into something and the journey we took than for winning the gold medal or winning the championship game or finishing that project or whatever it is. Because that's the end of the journey. And it's almost anticlimactic. So I'll tell you a story later, but thank you for bringing that up, that you basically said to this girl, like, you saw what she did and you're like, you praised her for her effort. You praised her for her hard work. And that once again, psychologically, we need that. We feed off of that far more than just the pat on the back and the medal around the neck. So keep, sorry
100%,
about
Quinn.
that. Yeah.
No, no, not at all. Not at all, man. And you're 100% correct, because what happens to her then is she hears that she's a hard worker. Oh, I'm a hard worker. That means I work hard. So she works harder.
And
God,
she
you're a
can
really
control.
hard.
Yeah, she can control that. And so she's
Absolutely.
going
And her
to,
fears.
yeah, she's going to continue to do those sorts of things because it makes her feel good to continue to get that praise.
Absolutely. And now she believes she is a hard worker, and
Okay.
she was a hard worker. Overcoming her fears. There's a lot of stuff to fear out there, including just, she's not used to you take a fish out of the ocean and kill it and cook it and carve it up and, staring into its little eyes. So it would start, she wouldn't look at the fish as I'd prepare it and everything and then give it to her on a little leaf, and she could do that. Okay. But then by the end of it, oh man, you are so brave. That is fantastic. I'm really proud of you. Proud. By the end of this thing, by the way, Quinn, she's calling me her jungle dad. Is that awesome?
That's awesome. That's awesome. I loved what you said earlier about, a lot of people, especially like alpha male types, would look at this gamer girl and be like, oh, she just sits on her butt and plays video games all day. And what you saw in her was, no, it takes strategy to play video games, like incredible strategy and thought process and
Yes.
thinking through things. You saw that instead of going straight to the negative of, okay, nice color hair, lady, and you play video games. I mean, this is not going to work out. But you saw the positives in her and what could be, and you fed that. That was awesome.
Well, there is good in almost everybody, So find it and magnify it, because that's what you have the power to do with everybody you're working with. You can magnify the good within them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wonderful. So you take this novice, this young girl, she find out she's a great worker. How long was the how many days were you out there, and ultimately when you won, once again, that's a result, that's a goal, but I'm sure that the two of you bonded, and that was probably more valuable to you and what you learned on that journey together, and for everybody on the show, really, when you think about it. But that journey together was far more the reward than the handful of dollars that you got at the end, or the reward from the actual show itself, correct?
Well, it really was. Although, quite frankly, $250,000 is nice. Let's not go crazy here. But there's no question about it. And a lot of those folks on there are still just very dear friends, my competitors,
Yeah.
just they're all amazing people. And you do really bond out there. But I do also want to say that we fought. My partner and I fought. And of course, as soon as you do, those cameras, bam, they're right on you, man. They're right there.
They love drama.
Well, that's what it's all. The audience loves drama, and boy, we got some drama. But here's another thing, and this is taught in the corporate world, and it's taught in scouting, and it's good for everybody to hear. So we're going at it. Now, we are starving. I lost 25 pounds on the show. I didn't have those survival stores anymore. Don't worry. I found them again. It's okay. But we lost, a lot of weight. We are starving. We are under a lot of stress. We are way sleep deprived. We are going at it. But right in the middle of that, I went, wait a minute. I know how to do this better. We need to separate. First of all, we need to chill out, because this is escalating. And okay, we go chill out. And I came back to her, and basically, one of the things that we're taught, there's this course called Wood Badge in scouting, and it's taught in the corporate world too. There are 4 stages of team development: forming, storming, norming, and performing. Forming, we're getting together, they're coming up, hey, everything's great, we're going to be great, things are going to be fantastic. Like every team goes through this. Marriages, the honeymoon stage, right? Storming, that's the fight. That's where the different things collide. Your different beliefs, your different way of doing things, etc., collide. Then you got norming, where, okay, we're kind of getting through that. We're coming together, performing. But here's the deal. You have to go through those 4 stages. So I came back to her. I told her about this. Basically, hey, guess what? We're smack dab in the middle of number 2. Yeah, we sure are. No, that's not what I mean. If we want to win the show, we want to perform, we've got to go through the storming, as long as we do it with love and respect. And Quinn, after that, after our huge blow up on international TV, that we got through it with love and respect, we became the most winning team on the entire show. So what I'm telling people is don't the storming. It's a step, kind of like failure. It's a step. You got to do it. Just do it with love and respect. That's all. But you got to get through those differences or you never will.
Yeah, I remember. I think about a lot of the disagreements I've had with my wife, even just this year, or with my kids. They're adults now and they're in their 20s. And I afterwards I look back on it, and I go, in the moment, that's kind of the best thing that could have happened. It
Yeah.
it kind of got
Yeah.
everything out, because otherwise you keep it bottled up. You create this resentment, this anger that's inside you, and at some point it boils over, and you say, now you hope you don't say things you can't take back, but at the
Right.
same time you need to let out what you're truly feeling, to let the other
Yeah.
person process that, and vice versa.
Don't
I love
attack
that.
them.
Yeah, no, don't attack them. Just
Yeah.
explain yourself, and
Yeah.
explain your frustration, your emotions, the feelings you're going through, so they can see what you're thinking and feeling, and vice versa. And then
Right.
that's where you come to an understanding. Now, there are some people who have a hard time seeing through all of it and just decide they want to fight all the time.
Right.
But you're right, that coming together, forming, the storming, it's like, okay, the honeymoon is over now, and we're going to argue about finances and kids and things like that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
too many marriages end up in divorce. We're at a 50% divorce rate, and I'm using relationships now, Terry, but because people don't want to fight through that storming part.
Right.
They
Or
don't want to see
grow
that
through
as
that
being a
storming.
grow. Okay, grow,
Yeah.
exactly. Grow through
Yeah.
that and get to the norming part. My wife and I have been together for 36 years now.
Right
Okay,
on.
29 marriage, and and man, there were so many times we could have just said, that's it, I'm done.
Yes.
But we're
Yes.
competitive. We're competitive. So we said, no, we're not going to lose at this game. And we
I love
decided to
that.
stay married. No, but it's our love is like the roots and the tree of our love is so much deeper because of it. And I'm sure the
Yes.
relationship you had with this young lady, and what you talked to, that's what builds true relationships.
Well, it is. You think about military buds,
Yeah.
and you are friends forever, very
Yeah.
close, dear friends forever. Why? Because of what you went through
Yep.
together. So equate that to your marriage. You are going to be closer over the long run because of the hell y'all went through together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's teammates. It's marriages,
Yeah.
relationships. It's coworkers. It's business partners. I
Yes.
mean, anytime you and one other or others go through heck together, you're gonna come out. If you come out on the other side, and you hope you all do, you are so much better for it. And
So
that's
next time you are next
go,
time you're going at it with a
yeah,
coworker
yeah.
or your spouse or your kids or just whoever you're going at it with, I want you to stop, chuckle a little bit and go, man, we are really going to be close in the future. We're going to be best of friends in the future because we're going to go through it right now.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, but you have to have, it's like having that common enemy, right? And regardless of what that is, this is why sometimes employees become best friends, because the common enemy is the boss.
Right.
Or maybe
Right.
or my son, who just finished 5 years at the University of Arizona football team. It's like, you bond together as brothers because you go to war together, but it's not just
Yes.
war game day of Saturday, it's war every day in practice, in the
Yeah.
heat and the sweat and the weights and the workouts, and the coach that treats you like crap that day. You went through it together,
Yeah.
and that's really
Yeah.
what this does. It brings you together. let's
100%.
let's okay, so you win the show, you get the $250,000. Was that split, or did you each get a $250,000?
We each got a $250,000. We split a
Wow.
half mil.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Can I ask you what you did with the money, because I feel like you probably did something philanthropic with it?
I got so drunk, Quinn. No.
Yeah.
No, you're exactly correct. Of course. I was very blessed to be able to give a good chunk to
Nice.
Scouting America,
Beautiful.
because there are other kids out there just like me who need scouting, who are being told they're no good, they're not good enough, who come from all of these different broken homes, bad backgrounds, et cetera, and they need scouting. So you bet. So I did give a chunk to them, but I also bought that ranch in Montana that we were talking about as well,
Nice.
built
Nice.
that out. So did something for me too.
That's awesome. I want to talk about, Terry, I want to talk about leadership. And we've touched on it a little bit here, because obviously on the show you were having to lead, this young lady through thick and thin, and you came out on the other side together in Scouting America, and Scouts, that's a leadership thing there, obviously. So in your experience, from military service to the TV show to philanthropy and scouting, what separates great leaders from good or average leaders?
They care about the people. They care about the people. For one thing, they care enough about them to be honest. to be trustworthy, because people will not follow somebody that they can't trust.
Yeah.
But you've got to care about the people themselves. Now, it's toward the common goal, towards what the vision is, but it's your job through the caring to instill that vision within them. And if you can get that vision in their hearts, then they'll do a lot for you. One of the best leaders I ever had was my squadron commander, Stephen D. Harper. And he taught me that if you build a fire under somebody, they will stomp it out the second you walk away. You build a fire inside of them, and it'll burn forever. So that's our job as leaders: care enough about the person to be honest with them, to build that vision within their heart. And then everybody goes on together. But being honest with them sometimes means you're not just always nice. Dude, you're screwing up. You got to cut that out.
Yeah.
Love you. You need to work that differently.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's important, because it's possible to be an assertive, stern leader, like someone who has presence and maybe, gets not angry, but has to kind of lay down the law at times.
Sure.
But it's not personal. And the student, the athlete, the person you're leading, whoever it is, employee, knows it's not personal. So when I was coaching football, and this is like 10-year-olds up to a university level, I would always tell my athletes, I said, I'm going to yell. It's just part of the game, but I'll never yell at you personally. Right. And to be honest, if I stop yelling at you, that would be more worrisome, because that means I've given up. Right? That means I've given up.
Yeah.
So if I'm yelling at you, it's because I know there's more in you and I'm trying to draw more out of you, but it's never personal. And they know that. Like all the kids that I've coached, taught, led, even when we had our company, the employees we had knew that when I got angry, it was only because they knew I basically trying to be a dad. I was just trying to get them to be better and get the potential out of them. But it's never personal. So you're right. You can be that. You don't need to be a soft leader. You don't need to, be all placating and that but you got to show them that you still do care. How do you reconcile, Terry, let's say in the corporate world, because I'm sure you've worked there, how do you reconcile a corporate leader, manager, director, what do you want to call them, who has to toe the company line but still has to be a good leader by showing they care? Because I find that's a bit of a tug of war for them. It's like, I still got to, toe the company line, and we still got to hit our targets and all this. And I still need to make sure the leaders above me are liking what I'm doing. But how then do you carry that down to your charges and your reports, the people that you're trying to lead? How do you reconcile that?
The most important thing we can do as corporate leaders, and I've been on several boards, I'm president of a board right now, is turn what you're doing into a vision, into a cause, if you will. I don't care if it's a product, service. I was working with a group of realtors. I was speaking for a realtor organization. And right away, we started talking about, what do you do? Well, we sell houses. No, you don't. No, you don't. You save families. Yeah. You save families, first of all, from getting ripped off by somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, by some just them getting a FSBO, for sale by owner, and getting screwed up on the paperwork or whatever. You create families. You create a family environment. We started working together and figuring out what the cause is, because people will only do so much for X dollars an hour, but they will die for a cause. So if you can turn whatever you're doing into a cause and then be able to communicate that cause. Harley Davidson, what do? They sell motorcycles. No, they sell freedom.
Freedom. I was going to say freedom.
That's what their cause is. And that's part of what they have figured out. That's not by accident. That's not just something that happened. They figured that out. Olive Garden, when you hear your family, right? That's what you need to do, and then communicate that cause. And therefore, if somebody isn't performing, they're not just hurting the company, or they're not doing enough for their pay or whatever. They're hurting the cause. They will work much harder if they feel that they have let somebody down for the cause. Does that make sense?
100%. I think there needs to be something deeper. And in discussing this with the business owners I work with, one of the greatest frustrations in the last 5 years has been the Gen Z problem, right? And that, Gen Z, they have no work ethic, and they basically get hired and they quit in 2 weeks and so forth. And it's like, listen, people don't quit jobs. They quit bad leadership.
Yeah.
They quit bad managers. And Gen Z is the first generation to finally just put their foot down and do it en masse. And I'm not
Hmm.
saying it's right. I'm just saying it's the norm now. And this is a generation that wants to feel like they're valued, like they're part of something. There's a higher calling to them than just,
Bingo.
do you want fries with that?
Bingo.
But that's what you were speaking to. It's like there's a vision there. And one of the things that frustrates me, Terry, with companies, and you've been on boards, is I work with a lot of companies and I go to their website and I find, their vision, mission, value statements. And I go, and there was one company I worked with and they had 7 on there. And as I had them in front of me at a group workshop, I said, okay, I said, I want you to write down the 7, value statements your company has. There's 10 people in the room. Even the CEO couldn't get more than 2.
Love that.
And I was like, why do you have them then?
I
Why,
love that.
number one, you posted them to well, we did this about 6 years ago. I don't care when you did it, if it was 6 weeks ago. Like the fact that you went through a process, probably paid thousands of dollars for it to go through this
Yes.
vision, mission, value statement just to post it on a wall to forget about it. Like this is what companies are missing, and you and I are around this age where the boomers and the Gen Xers, the leaders there, are missing the boat with Gen
Yeah.
Z and millennials, and then Gen Alpha
Yes.
that's coming up. It's like
Yeah.
they want to know that means something. Even if you
Yes.
are just serving fries at McDonald's, they want to
Yeah.
know that they're being cared for and that they're part of something. And so I totally get what you're saying, Terry. So let's transition into this then, because I think it leads nicely into it. You've helped build schools. You've led probably hundreds of young people through Scouting America, youth programs, helped underserved, underserved, not undeserved,
Undeserved.
community, underserved communities. What drives that mission for you? Is it your upbringing in McAllen, Texas? Is it something that that happened where it's like, you know what, I need to give back? Like, where was that for you?
I think for one thing, it's my own personal vision statement since a young age was to help as many people as I can before I die. That's my own mission statement.
Mm,
And the best way to do it, in my opinion, is by helping the youth. By
yeah.
helping the youth. And also, and this is just my opinion, and others can disagree with me, and they're right too. Okay. I don't think there's any better place to do that than in scouting. I think the ethics that it teaches, of course, the leadership, the teamwork, everything else. Now, I know there's a lot of other fantastic youth organizations out there, and I love them, and I thank God for them. The one I'm associated with is scouting. But I think that is where we need to go. Helping adults is fantastic, but we've missed out on a whole lot of years of their development. And scouts give back. If I help a kid grow up through scouting, they're going to give back to their community, to society, to other kids, to other adults. So that's where my passion has been, because then they go back and it changes their generations, just like it has for us. For my family, it's changed generations. In fact, I'll tell you this story real quick, although it's a fantastic story that requires longer time, but that's a different podcast perhaps. So again, my brothers and I are never going to grow up to be anything. And one of them, and not every story has a happy ending, but we can learn from it. One of them decides he wants to be an astronaut. Quinn, they don't have astronauts from McAllen, Texas. All right. But he goes for it.
Yeah.
And of course fails miserably.
Yeah.
And so he goes for it again and fails miserably. Now, going for it's a 2-year process. You're going through all these physical exams, mental exams, psychological exams, all this kind of stuff, right? Getting yet another advanced degree. So it's not just sending a postcard, dear NASA, I'd like to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
So that's 4 years of failure, getting slammed down. But he's kind of stubborn. And again, scouts, and we talked about going through the hard times. That's what makes you strong. So he went for it again and again and again and again. 12 years he failed at it, got slammed down. And again, I'm cutting this a lot of pain real short in this story here for time's sake. And I called him up finally, and because I found out that he was going to go for it again. By the way, he was too old. He was past the window. They don't accept astronauts at your age. And again, I'm cutting out a lot of the story. It's really great. And I called him up when I found out he's going to go for it again. It was no longer improbable. It was impossible. They told him for 12 years, we don't want you. And now you're too old. Forget it. Get out of here, which is basically what they said. I called him up and said, Mike, I want to make sure you understand something. I don't care. I don't care if you make an astronaut. I don't care. I couldn't care less, because there's no way I could be more proud of you than I am right now. Because when it's impossible, you're going for it anyway. Yeah. And when he got the phone call, he knew right away from the tone of the voice what the answer was. When the guy said, Mike, I'm sorry. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry? 14 years of one myopic dream, blood, sweat, tears, prayers, everything to be slammed down with 2 words, I'm sorry. When he was in grade school in McAllen, Texas, he got a book on space. He wrote in there, someday I will touch the stars, to be slammed down with 2 words, I'm sorry. And what the guy said next, because they told him you need to change your trajectory or you're no longer going to even work at NASA. The guy said next, brought Mike down to his knees when he said, come clean out your desk, Mike. We try to tell you, come clean out your desk. You don't work here anymore because you've been selected to be a United States astronaut. Is that amazing?
Wow.
He's now number 12 in U.S. history for a number of hours walking in space. He was the commander of the International Space Station, and he now has a school named after him in McAllen, Texas.
That is a story. That should be a movie.
Yeah. Amen.
Or at least a Netflix special. Man, that is right. Stories like that are what give me the juice and the passion to keep doing what I'm doing with effort over results, because that literally it epitomizes exactly what we talk about here. That he had a goal, and even though he didn't reach it, he kept going, he kept going, he kept going, he kept going. Like it was an infinite game for him, meaning there was no end for him. He was going to keep playing the game until something happened. And I'm sure even had he not succeeded, what he learned during that process and the journey is like the number of celebratory wins and the growth in him probably far exceeds, because of the number of years that he did it, but far exceeds even maybe what he did as an astronaut and being part of NASA, but then actually succeeding at it and doing what he did just is an incredible story. So let me ask you this question, because this ties into that. What do you say to someone who feels like they've quote unquote missed their shot in life? It's that person who goes, well, I tried and it didn't really work out for me, or whatever it is.
Who is it? Michael Jordan? And I'll forget the exact quote, but it's not how many times you shoot, I forget the quote completely.
Wayne Gretzky. What is it? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah, there's another one too that's really cool.
Okay.
Yeah, but the bottom line is you keep shooting. You keep shooting. You keep shooting. You keep shooting. You keep shooting until you no longer have arms. Then, figure out a way to kick that ball up there. But you keep shooting. And I love telling that's Mike's story as from the stage too. Of course, that's it's a heck of a motivator from the stage. I love telling that story because it usually will have the audience fully in tears at that point. And then, of course, on their feet afterwards, quite frankly, because it is it's an amazing story, and it's the truth.
Where does confidence come from?
Say again?
When a lot of people say they I lack confidence, and I wish I had more confidence like you. I wish I had more confidence like you. Where does it come from? How do people build confidence?
How do you build confidence? Is pretty easy in my book. Go help somebody. Go help somebody. You don't have to do some business thing and gain confidence. You know what? Go to a assisted living facility and help out. Go say hi to some folks that need somebody to say hi to them. You're going to build confidence. Go help build homes for free. You're going to build confidence. Go help at an animal shelter. You're going to build confidence. Get out there and help people for free. You'll build confidence, and you will gain so much back from that. That's more than just confidence. It's amazing. So I tell anybody who says, I'm depressed, cool, go help somebody. Go do something. Help somebody. Help somebody who can't help themselves.
Yeah. I think movement and action is almost like the best pill anybody could take.
Sure.
I know. And well, I always tell my kids this. My grandfather used to say to me, and this is back in the 1900s. He used to say to me, the devil makes work for idle hands, right?
Yeah.
Which is something every Gen Xer and older will know. And it's true, but it's true. It's still true. And if you're just going to sit all day and do nothing and hope the world comes to you and hope success comes to you, it's not going to happen. And you're going to start to become depressed and anxious, and you're going to lack confidence, and really all it's doing is just eating away at your entire being. And so to me, you explained it in a slightly different way, but it's the same thing. Confidence comes from action. It comes from doing.
It does. And, if you're still having trouble with that, with taking the action towards your business or whatever your goal is, again, go back and just help somebody. It has nothing to do with your goal, perhaps, because that right there is going to be that first step that fills your heart. And we all take action based on how full our heart is, you know? So that is a fantastic place to start right there. You start believing in yourself again, because those old folks, they will believe in you. Those pets, they will believe in you. The people who you're building a home for, they will believe in you. And the more people believe in you, the more you believe in yourself.
Yes, sir. How important is routine for you, Terry? Daily
Actually, this is going to
routine.
be probably counter to what you're used to hearing. It's not important to me at all.
Okay. Explain why.
Yep. Yep. Because I'm a little bit different, perhaps, in a whole lot of ways. Completely ADHD, or as we call it, multitasker.
There you go.
Absolutely. You know, they go, "Oh, I'm ADHD." Fantastic. Use it to your advantage, man. Roll with it. Do 25 things at once. I do.
Yep.
If you look right, if you're looking at the video of this on camera, you see this great setup. You've got my cover man of the year, whatever it was, number
Yep.
one best, you know, all that crap. If I turn my camera, you will see my desk is covered in crap, and so is my conference room table and everything else. All
Yep.
right. I don't do routine myself. I've got my goals and I just rock and roll towards them, and I go with whatever comes into my heart, and it seems to work out pretty well for me. Other people need that routine. Rock with it. Whatever works for you. I think it's important that people understand, you know, what everything you're hearing may or may not work for you.
Right.
Pull the good parts out of what I say, what everybody says, you know, what works for you. Forget about the other parts, and just again, like Quinn and I said, just take action. Just get out there and do it. Even if it's wrong, it's still action.
Maybe that's the routine for you. You just decide every day you're going to be productive. You're going to take action. You're going to do the things you need to do to get done for yourself and for others. That's a routine for you.
Yeah.
Like you would be out of routine by waking up and sitting there and doing nothing.
I'd go
And
crazy.
that's
Yeah.
there you go. So are there any non-negotiables though? Like each day is production and productivity. Obviously that's one, but anything else that it's like, you know, I need to make sure, you know, I tell my wife I love her. I need to make sure I, you know, do this or take your AG1s or what, you know, supplements. Any non-negotiables in your life, Terry?
Yeah, you nailed a couple of them. The first thought out of my head, the first thought in my head every single morning is, thank you, God, for the gifts you have given me. Please help me use them in your service every single day. Let credit where credit's due, baby. You know,
Yeah.
I've been given a lot of gifts. I got no pride because I was given those gifts, you know. And let's start the day with that thankfulness right there. And then absolutely, the first thing that we do, I guess there's a little bit of a routine, because when the alarm goes off, if the puppy hadn't woken us up already, that's a different story. Then reach over, hit the Keurig, and for about the first hour out of every day, my wife and I spend that time together, talking, chatting, talking about issues, things going on in the world, whatever it is. And then we get up and start moving. So I will always absolutely spend that effort towards my wife, the most important person in my entire life, without question. And then, of course, give the dogs some loving. We got 3 dogs. They're all spoiled rotten, kind of.
Yeah, my wife leaves for work every morning at 5 o'clock, and I tell her, I said, you make sure you give me a hug and a kiss before you leave. And some mornings she's rushed and she forgets, and she comes home, you know, in the afternoon from her job, and I just go, I didn't get my hug today. You know, like that's now become a bit of a non-negotiable. My daughter, when she comes to visit us, and she lives in the same city as us, but when she comes to visit, when she leaves, she always goes, "Okay, love you." And if we don't say love you back, she will come back in the house and she will yell it and she'll go, "Love you." And it's like that's sort of her non-negotiable. She wants to make sure every time we separate, we part. Even if it's like I saw her for 10 minutes, she always finishes with that. And I love that. And those are the little things that you know maybe take for granted, but then when someone brings them to the forefront, you realize how non-negotiable that is, and really that it should be, because we're not promised anything. God, you know, God doesn't promise us tomorrow. I've had 2 friends in the last 4 years die of heart attacks. You know, I'm in my 50s, and we're at that age, right? It could happen. And I've had people, you know, be taken from us in car accidents, and we need to really just treasure every day with each other. And I think that's really what a non-negotiable should be, is just the relationships you have, and you know, the love we have for each other and for your, you know, your partners. Let me ask you a couple of final questions, Terry. Well, first of all, you did want to talk about the TEDx, you know, speaking program, and I want to talk about it because I personally have a goal. It's on my wall actually. It's like I want to be on a TEDx stage someday. I do public speaking already. In fact, I was prepping for my keynote for this Friday as we came to the show, and TEDx is a goal for me. Talk about the program that you've developed for people who have that as a goal in their life, and really what that path and journey looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I look forward to working with you on this.
Yeah.
First of all, why give a TEDx talk? Some people have, that's their goal.
Yeah.
Another person I'm working with in the program, that was her goal in life, to give a TEDx talk. Like, we got you. No problem at all. But also one of my clients is Larry Namer, the billionaire founder of E-Entertainment TV. He
Mm.
wanted to give a TEDx talk. I mean, he's a billionaire. He's globally renowned, but he wants to give a TEDx talk. But for those who aren't like that, if you've got an idea in your head that you think can help people, there's no bigger stage in the world than the TEDx stage. And if you want to be known as a global expert in your field, whatever that field is, it could be roofing or it could be coaching. You've got a book you want to get out, whatever it is. Now, or a speaker, now you are a global expert. You're a TEDx speaker. But it ain't easy. Thousands and thousands of people understand that and want to get your spot on that stage. To become a TEDx speaker, you have to have an idea that's absolutely original, that people haven't heard before. It may be even countercultural or counterintuitive. They love that. And just getting their attention, first of all, finding the right stage, because TED is the one stage. TEDx is all around the world. TEDx Spokane, TEDx Copenhagen, whatever it might be. So that's the difference there. Finding the stage that works with your theme is also important. And then having the right materials to send to those people to make them go, wait a minute, we need to look at this person. But they've got to be very carefully crafted. And then how do you craft a TEDx speech? Because as Quinn and I were talking about before we started recording, there are specific things you need to do, that you need to know, and that you need to make happen. And if you don't do those, you're going to fail. And then afterwards, okay, I got a TED Talk. It can stop there. Not all of them go viral. I was very blessed that mine was the #2 TEDx talk, a new TEDx talk in the world when it debuted. It's been called one of the 30 most impactful TEDx talks of this century.
Nice.
There's a reason why, though. First of all, it was a good talk, right? It was a good talk, but we knew how to promote it. I've taken all of this and built it into a program with some extremely high-level AI. Now, this isn't just somebody did a chat GPT. We've got no. I'm working at AI at a cognitive level higher than 99% of the population. This is serious stuff here. It is amazing. And I have spent hours and hours, countless hours sitting right here for months now making it so this thing will take your idea, and I'm going to give, by the way, everybody listening on, I'm going to give you a free tool that you can go to and put your ideas into, maybe your book, whatever.
Yeah.
And it'll tell you what your chances are getting a TEDx stage, and it's going to help craft it for you. It's going to give you that title that the event planners are looking for, and then lead you some more information, learn more about the program. In fact, I'll give it right now. Everybody write down.
Let's do it.
Ideascore.ai. Idea Score. Yeah,
that'll be in the show notes for sure.
Yeah, right on. There you go. And it's going to help you do that. So if that has been your goal, or you've thought about it, wondered about it, you want to become the global expert, you want to be able to sell more books, get on those stages, get more coaching clients, whatever it might be, that's a really good place to start, man. And love to, you'd be working with me personally as well, which is, well, I think fun. My wife thinks so. My dogs do.
The dogs love it. Yeah.
The dogs love it.
Well, I've really enjoyed working with you today, Terry. It's been an incredible conversation. Let's finish here. Let's tell the world, or at least the audience that's listening to the EOR podcast today, give me one failure that you're deeply grateful for and why.
Wow, I've never been asked that question before. I'm gonna have to take a moment.
Take a moment.
Wow, it's a harsh one. And my apologies to the whole audience that doesn't like my answer to this, but it's the truth, and that's what I'll always give you, like it or not.
Absolutely.
My divorce.
Okay.
My divorce. I know it's not going to be a popular answer, but I'm about telling the truth because the woman I'm married to now, first of all, I had the opportunity to help raise her 3 teenage and preteen boys into honorable men, and they are all now honorable men. They needed a positive male role model very badly, and now again 2 are Eagle Scouts. So I'm very, very grateful for that, and of course I'm absolutely smitten with my wife. She is the one I was meant to be with. So whereas as hard as I was, and I'm not telling people they should get divorced, do not read this wrong at all. But as it turns out, I guess I have no choice but to thank God for it.
Yeah. I don't think that's terrible at all. I mean, if people are misconstruing what you're saying, then that's on them. Because I believe everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Divorces happen for a reason. I believe death happens for a reason. I think we have to pull the timeline out to see what that reason is.
Yeah.
And it may not happen, anytime soon. It may be 20 years down the road and you look back on it. I know, for example, and this isn't divorce, but when I was teaching in a Catholic school. I was told by the principal, I guess my boss, so to speak, who said,
Yeah.
"You're not Catholic enough to teach in this school, and if you're teaching anywhere in 5 years, it won't be here."
Wow. Wow.
It's like someone had just, pillow fight, but the pillow, case was full of bricks. And
Yeah.
I sat back going, okay, but that was in 2004, Terry. That was 20 years ago, 21 years ago. And I look back on that going, that's the best thing that ever happened to me,
Love
because
it.
it forced me to reconsider whether I wanted to continue teaching. And as much as I did love it, and I love working with kids and growing, students, it forced me out of that profession into something else that ultimately led to a job that I've had for the last 15 years, coaching businesses, advising businesses, and it's given me the life I have right now because of that moment. And I think everybody has probably one, if not 101 moments in their life where something terrible happened and they look back, because like I said, you pull the timeline out far enough and you go, that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. So for you to say, my divorce is a failure you're deeply grateful for, and people might cringe at that, but no, there's relationships come and go.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe friendships come and go, and there's always reasons for that. And I've had to accept that in my own life. It's like, why am I not friends with that person anymore? It's because the universe, God, has just decided, they've played their part in your life, and now they've moved on. There's someone else in your life. And so I think what you just said, as truthful as it is it's beautiful too, because you're saying this was, a marriage that didn't work out. It fell apart, but it led me to a new woman that I absolutely adore, and the boys that I'm raising to be great men.
Yep.
Nobody's going to look back on that and say, well, you shouldn't have divorced your first wife in the first place. No, that's not it, because it happens. And like I said, I believe that God has a plan for all of us, and that everything happens for a reason, and all in good time. And I've gotten so much out of this today, Terry, and I love what you do. And I think your story is very inspiring. And obviously that's the reason why your book has done so well and the TEDx talk has done amazingly. So I want to tell everybody out there, Terry Fossum, you've been a great guest. Where can people find you? Let's promote your social media. Let's promote the book. Let's get it out there. And then also let's get that TED Talk address going again for people who want to make that a goal in their life.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with that one. Ideascore.ai. Ideascore.ai. You can find it's in the show notes there. You can also find me on any social media pretty much. TerryLFossum.com is my website, TerryLFossum.com. And then I've got some other really cool programs that I'm going to be launching. Oh, I should also say my podcast, Comeback Chronicles podcast as well. I've got some really cool programs I'm going to be launching very soon, especially if you're an author. You want to reach out to me. We've got some cool stuff we're going to be launching very soon.
Excellent. Well, thanks again, Terry. It's been a wonderful conversation, and thank you for being on the EOR podcast.
Quinn, again, thank you for everything you're doing for helping people out there. I really appreciate it, and appreciate everybody listening. You got this, man. You got this. Get it out there and go get them.